Again, there is so much happening. We need the word of the Lord on today. If we ever needed it before, we sure enough need it now. We need God's word. And God brought me to a text that some of us have heard before. We may have read before, but we know that there is always new revelation in God's word. There's always something peeking out, something that you didn't see before or didn't recognize prior. And we thank God for Crystal and CJ for reading the scripture in the video you saw earlier. I'm just going to lift up a couple of the points. Actually, I'm going to read the NIV version for you. And the woman who was there had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. Luke 8:43 through 48 is the text. Luke 8:43 through 48. And a woman who was there had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the people are crowding and pressing against you." But Jesus said, "Someone touched me. I know the power has gone out from me." Then the woman, seeing that she could not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." King James said, "Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace." The word of the Lord. If you could help me tag the text for this morning, if you could tag the text and repeat after me. Watch what you touch. Repeat after me. Watch what you touch. Watch what you touch. Watch what you touch. 2020 has been a year beyond any of our imaginations. It's blown our mind. In fact, we are living through the most unpredictable, unprecedented, and unexpected times of many of our lives. We're experiencing somewhat of a thrisis or a quadrisis, 3 crises or 4 crises at once. We have COVID-19 that has ravaged our communities and disproportionately impacted black and brown communities. We have COVID that's killed more than 260,000 Americans to date, and we're still counting, more and more cases being reported daily. That's one crisis, but if that's not enough, we have the ensuing economic downturn where we see people who are in need of food and other things, and then we also have the continued systemic racism. We've seen the cases of just outwardly racist treatment and violence in the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and countless other black Americans that we've seen killed senselessly. We've seen it. We've watched it on our phones and on our TV screens. And if that's not enough, then we also have the political divisiveness and all the craziness happening in our world. We've seen it. We are living in the midst of a multitude of challenges and a myriad of issues. Maybe you're not living in the same country I'm in, but there's a whole lot going on. And the recent spikes in COVID have caused us all to be much more intentional about practicing proper safety protocols. And the health officials have even given us new or reminder instructions and guidelines of what not to touch, what not to put our hands on, what not to touch. Guidelines suggest don't touch your face, don't touch doors, don't touch the shopping cart handles, don't even touch someone else's hand to shake their hands, Reverend Kev. Don't touch things, don't touch the ATM buttons, and don't even touch money because it could be contaminated, and so much more that we're not meant to touch. Even as children, we've been taught things to not touch. You remember as a child, some of us remember that. We can think back a few years to childhood when we were told, don't touch sharp things like scissors or knives, and stay away from and not to touch a hot stove or a pot on the stove. You weren't supposed to touch electrical outlets, right? Because you could get electrocuted. And you better not touch that window dial in the car. You better not mess with the window when you're in the car as a child, right? When you're riding with an adult. Some of us remember this. Some people might remember. But the electrical window, you better not touch it if you're in the car with an adult. And sisters, my sisters on this morning, we've been told many, many times what not to reach for, not to seek certain goals or to put our hands up in certain opportunities. We've been told or to wait for the next time. It's not our turn yet. And in the process, we've often been doubted. We've often been overlooked. We've often been second-guessed. But thanks be to God, we have a new vice president-elect. Hallelujah. In the one Kamala Harris, who is a black woman, a VP that looks like me and you. And she shared that her mother taught her that while she may be the first like her in certain rooms, in certain places, that she better not be the last one. And then we've been taught what not to touch. From childhood, what not to touch. In our text today, we find a woman with an issue that has caused her to bleed for 12 long years. She's too been told by others, family members and doctors and physicians and even society, what she should do and what she should touch or even where she should go. The story of this woman is short, but it can be found in 3 of the Gospels, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It's a short account, but it's clearly an important one and a powerful one. Let's set the scene. Can we set the scene? Jesus has just returned to the eastern side of the Sea of Galilee. Are y'all with me? Can I teach a little bit? Where he's just driven out legions of demons out of 2 men. That's what he'd been doing. And earlier he'd been traveling and performing miracles all over. He was causing blind men and blind eyes to see. He was even driving evil spirits out. He was calming the storm and telling it to be still. That's what Jesus had just arrived from doing. And upon his return to the area around Capernaum, he shows up. And as soon as he gets to shore, he's met with a huge crowd. The people are all around. They're gathered. The news had traveled of what he was doing and that he was returning. And Jesus is surrounded by people on every side. You know what crowds look like. I mean, pre-2020. You remember crowds. You remember what it'd be like on Friday after Thanksgiving. Usually, the crowds, you'd be out in Walmart trying to get the biggest television or trying to get the newest iPhone. You remember crowds leaving your favorite sporting event or even some other concert. You remember crowds. Crowds. Jesus was completely surrounded by people. He was crowded in. All who wanted his attention or his help. They needed him. And one of the people who's come to see Jesus, who's arrived on the scene, is Jairus. Jairus is on the scene waiting in the crowd. And Jairus has come to see Jesus because he needs him to go and see his 12-year-old daughter. Jairus is there, and Jairus wants Jesus to come to heal his daughter who's dying at home. And while he's going to Jesus, he's interrupted. He's interrupted by a woman. At this very moment, she shows up and enters stage left. She steps on the scene, and while your particular issue this morning may not be the same issue as this woman's, and my issue may not be your issue, and your issue may not be your mother's issue. And your mother's issue may not be your homeboy's issue. And your homeboy's issue may not be your co-worker's issue. We all have an issue. We all have an issue. It may not be physical. It might be mental. You might have an emotional issue. You may have a heart issue this morning. Or maybe you have a family situation or relationship challenge, or maybe your career feels stalled, or you don't even know what you want to do with your life. You have an issue. The reality is that no matter who you are and where you are in life, we all have situations or conditions in which we feel boxed in which we feel that we're suffocated or that we're isolated or that we're all alone and there's no hope or any future. All of us have been there. Truth be told, many of us are navigating situations and we're managing challenges that are not even fair. But our God is a way maker. Hallelujah to Jesus. Our God is a way maker, and our text tells one of the most memorable stories and chronicles one of the most courageous and faith-filled acts of any person, man or woman, in the Bible. And I would dare say that there are a few lessons that we can learn from this woman, sis, that had the issue of blood for 12 years. I believe that there's some lessons that we can learn from her and what she did on this day. You see, the Jewish law, Levitical law, declared that this woman was unclean. She was unsanitary, and that meant she was not allowed to do anything. She couldn't even go into the house of worship. She couldn't even enter the temple because they said that she was unclean. The law said she couldn't touch another thing. She couldn't be around any people. She couldn't do anything. But yet, when she touches Jesus on this fateful day, when she touches Jesus, the very exact opposite happens. In fact, when she touches Jesus on this day, in fact, she herself is the one that is made clean. Hallelujah. He made her clean through what? His awesome power. And that, my brothers and sisters, is what Jesus wants to do in your life. That's what he wants to do in your life. He wants to renew us, and he wants to restore us back into perfect place. It also shows that God's unconditional and unfailing and unending love for us has no leaps or no bounds. God will do absolutely anything and get through anyone to reach us. He will go anywhere to get to you. Wherever you are, to the ends of the earth, God will come to get you. He will stop what he's doing. He will stop what he's doing to see about your needs. Just as he stopped on his way to Jairus' daughter, he will stop. And that's the first point. If you're a note taker, that's the first point. Don't miss it. Your life and your needs matter to God. Your life and your needs matter to God. Know that God loves you with a deep, abiding love. God loves you. His love is deep enough to keep you, to forgive you, and to heal you. He knows your name. Talk to me, Tasha Cobbs. He knows your name. And God is so amazing that he even knows every issue that you have. He knows every concern that you lost sleep over last night. He knows the things that you cried about. God knows them. He even knows every hair on your head or lack thereof. God knows. God knows. And most importantly, Jesus went to the cross with your name on his mind. He went to the cross with you on his mind and your name on his lips. He went to the cross just for you. You missed your chance to praise God right there. Somebody missed it right there. You missed it. You missed it right there. God went to the cross. Jesus died for you, just for you. Somebody ought to give God some praise right there and just thank him. Open your mouth and tell God, thank you. Thank you for loving me so. Thank you, God, for loving me. I can only imagine what life was like for sis. I can only imagine what her life was like. People likely only talked to her on the phone. They probably only called her up, or they tweeted her, right? They hashtagged her, right? They sent her a text, and others probably questioned how she got sick in the first place. What did she do to get in this condition? Was it her own doing? And some people just talked about her. Did you hear about her? Did you hear about what's going on with her? You hear it's been 12 long years. She still got it. She still got, did you know that? She still has it. And as the years went by, more and more people probably even forgot about her. They even forgot about her condition. She was a forgotten thought in their minds. And that's the second point you need to get today, is that you got to push past people. And don't let the opinions of people touch you. They can't touch you. They called her by her situation. They called her by her position and her station in life. They weren't alone. We know people call you certain things. They see you one way. you show up and they already have a thought or expectation about who you are. You know, that's such and such's daughter. That's his son. You know, the tall one. You know, the one that sings. You know, the one that had the baby. You know, the one that got in trouble and got locked up that time. You know the one. You know the one that did this or the one that did that. The names they give you and how they define you, but no one can define or dictate who you are but God. But God. More importantly, you better be careful about what you answer to, what name you respond to. Remember, you are a child of the Most High God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made in the likeness of his image. And how dare you answer to anything other than what he calls you? How dare you respond to any other name than what he says you are? Despite all of this, this woman slowly and methodically decides on this day to make her way through the crowd. Perhaps no one had been paying attention to her. She was just ignored as she moved through the crowd. I even think, Pastor Jay, maybe she had her face covered with the mask on as she was moving through the crowd, so she couldn't be seen, or she couldn't contaminate others as she moved through the crowd. She likely got stepped on and frowned on as she pressed her way to Jesus, and as she moved people back and pushed people to the side. As they probably pushed her back, she pressed her way, and people probably got annoyed through all of the crowds, but she pressed and she pressed, and while she was taking steps towards her destiny, people tried to discredit her, I'm sure, and probably tried to discourage her, and probably tried to diminish who she was and what she was doing. Heck, there may be times that you even have diminished yourself, and that you've doubted yourself, and that you've second-guessed yourself. There may be others who've even undervalued you and underestimated you or misjudged your ability because of perhaps your age. You're too young to try that. Hallelujah to Jesus. When I was a trustee, Pastor Jay mentioned, I was probably, I don't even know, maybe 30. One of only 2 women in the trustee boardroom. You're too young for this. They may second guess you because of your age, or maybe it's because of the melanin in your skin. The color of your skin, the world in which we're living in now, we know that racism, I don't think it's at an all-time high. I think we're seeing it more. It's more outright. It's more emboldened. The current climate has given people license to just act crazy and show their true colors. In fact, the FBI issued earlier this month that hate crimes are actually higher and more than they've been in a decade. Higher than they've been in a decade. In the United States, not so united of America. The faces of opposition may also be familiar to you. You have some opposition just like this sister did. It may even come from those that you know. Perhaps your parents aren't the most supportive. Hallelujah to Jesus. It's okay wherever you are. Just keep looking ahead. If you're by yourself, don't worry about it. Nobody's looking. Perhaps your parents aren't the most supportive, and maybe some friends that have come and gone. Hallelujah. My brothers and sisters, while you may get sidetracked, and while you may get knocked down, and while you might get pushed around, and you might get bogged down, keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. In fact, the notification just came on your phone just now. You don't need permission from people who don't have any power. You don't need permission from people who have no power. Forget those who don't see your vision and those who don't support your purpose. Those people aren't the ones who gave you the vision in the first place. God did. The Lord did. They didn't give you the vision to begin with. 144 months. 105,192 hours. That's the total of 12 years. 12 years. 12 years sis bore the emotional and psychological baggage of being detached, of being disillusioned, of being unclean, and of being untouchable. No hugs with friends and family. No hugs with church members and church family. She couldn't go into her regular place of work. She couldn't go out shopping as she normally would. She couldn't hang out with friends and loved ones. She had to stay in the house all day long, each and every day, staring at the walls, just looking and thinking and looking and praying and seeking God and praying some more and wondering what was going to happen. Her whole life changed. Her whole life changed. And for these 12 years, she sat there. Similarly, many of our lives have changed over these last 9-10 months after being isolated, after being quarantined. 8 months, nearly 240 days, we've been in isolation. And during that time, many of us have been unable to touch and to see our loved ones and to get out and do the things we're used to doing and accustomed to doing in our day-to-day lives. Somebody say, but on this day, after suffering for 12 long years, sis made a decision. She made a decision that she was done waiting for her miracle. She was done, and on this day, she would have an encounter that would change the rest of her life forever. Forever. She had what author and psychologist Angela Duckworth calls grit. Grit. In her New York Times best-selling book, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance, Duckworth said that grit depends on a different kind of hope. A different kind of hope that with practice and with guidance, you can change the way that you think, you can change the way that you feel, and most importantly, you can change the way that you act. With grit, the way that you act when things get tough. The author offers a final suggestion for teaching yourself hope. And that lesson is to always ask for a helping hand. To ask for a helping hand. Beloved, if you can just get to God, if you can just get to God, He is able to do anything but fail. And He never fails to keep His promises. This woman hears about Jesus and she rushes to the center of town, hoping she can catch him. Can I set the stage? Can I show the picture just again? The woman hears about Jesus. She rushes to the center of town to see if she can catch him. She sees that Jesus is surrounded, but she's desperate. She's got to get to him. She's got to touch him. She gets low on the ground, and she may not be able to speak to him, but she knows if she can just get to him, if she can just touch the hem of his garment. She trusted God too much. And I don't know who this is for this morning, but you've got to trust God so much that you won't give up this time, that you won't turn back. Yes, 2020 has been challenging. I know it has been. It's been challenging for me too. And you have every right to want to give up and to throw in the towel and to turn back. You have every right. You're tired. You're weary. You're just done with it. You're ready for it to be over. But don't stop. Don't stop. Put your feet in action and put your feet to your faith and keep on moving. This wasn't new for our sister. I believe she had thoughts about this moment, Pastor Jay. I believe she envisioned it. I believe she saw it while she was sitting at her house, while she was thinking and rocking and praying. I believe she saw it before she saw it. I believe she saw it with her supernatural eyes before she saw it in the natural. I believe she saw it, and I believe, as the text declares, she said she came before all the people, and she said, and they said, why, who touched me? And she said, I touched him. And then she said, I touched him, and I was healed immediately. Immediately. Somebody missed it. As soon as the woman touches Jesus, she knows that she is healed immediately. As she moves through the crowd, she immediately feels the change in her body. She unequivocally knows that she has been healed. You missed it. Jesus hadn't told her anything yet. He hadn't said a word to her. He hadn't even acknowledged. He was like, what? Somebody touched me, but he hadn't spoken to her. But she knew that she was different. She immediately knew that because she had prayed for this moment and she had seen this moment, that she knew that it had happened, that she had experienced her miracle. She was finally free. She was free. She was free immediately. Immediately she was free on this day. And I think in a blink of an eye, in a flash, in a moment, in a snap, she was immediately healed. In an instant, Jesus did what doctors couldn't do for 12 years. For 144 months, Jesus did it in an instant. And after the year she's had, and after the year we've had, we need to know that God is bringing some things to an end. God is ending some things in our lives this year. God is completing some things. He's finishing some things. He's breaking some things. Ties that need to be broken immediately. Addictions, he's breaking them immediately. Negative thoughts, he's breaking them immediately. Bad relationships, he's removing them immediately. Low self-esteem, he's breaking it immediately. God is doing it immediately. Addictions, God is coming over after them. He's coming for you immediately. Hallelujah to Jesus. Those feelings of abandonment immediately. Hallelujah. Those bad habits immediately. God is coming for them. Generational curses. Those things that have lingered in your families for years and years are stopping with you immediately. Hallelujah. As we prepare to enter into 2021, some things are going to happen instantly, pastors. They're going to happen in a moment. I've come on assignment today during this Young Adult Sunday, on the last Sunday of November 2020, as we enter into the 12th month of the year this week. It will come. It will come. Wherever you are at this moment, you have to know that some things are coming to an end. They're coming to an end. They're coming to an end. Let me be clear, I don't know what you're going through. And I know that what's happening in our communities and our nation looks crazy. It looks ridiculous. We can become frustrated and overwhelmed, and there can appear to be no relief in sight. The delay or denial may seem present in our perception, but God is always persistently at work. Whether it's 12 years or 12 months, it will come. Someone is saying, then why has it happened? Why hasn't it come yet? It's not possible. Just when you think God has passed you by, when he's continuing along his way, he's there waiting for you. If you just reach for him. We must keep seeking God with faith and determination, like sis in our scripture today. Even when there isn't physical healing, there will always be healing of our souls. When you release and you reach for God, you too can be free. The question is, will you trust his heart when you don't feel his presence? Even though Jesus is completely surrounded by people, he knows the very moment that the woman touches him. He questions, who's touched my clothes? And I'm sure the crowd looked around and thought it was super strange. There's hundreds of people out here, God. We all touched you. Jesus the Christ, we all touched you. But Jesus knew it wasn't a casual touch. He knew he'd been touched by faith. That the faith had taken everything out of him. And that's why we need to write God's word on our hearts and remind ourselves of it daily. And believe in faith, his assured actions will come to pass. The more you focus on your attention on the end, on the outcome, and not the current situation, the more your faith grows. And then taking slow and steady steps on your journey to your final destination, a purpose that God ordained for you. before the beginning of time, as you take those steps, there's one more point and I'm going to get out of here. Imagine if this woman had just stayed home that day. Imagine if she stayed home, if she thought, what will the people think? It's too far to walk. I'm unclean. What will they say about me? I'm just going to stay home and watch Netflix. I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to stay this way forever. This is the way it's going to be. But she couldn't. And she didn't. Because she knew her life had purpose beyond her present condition. It was beyond where she was. Her life had purpose beyond her present condition. Today, God is saying, go back to school. Write the book. Go ahead and take out the loan. Start the business. Go ahead and put the down payment down on the new house. Save up the money. Get the counseling you need. Hallelujah to Jesus. Fellas, buy the ring. Go ahead and apply for that promotion. Take the next step. Make that appointment. Move to that new city. I don't know what your it is, what your issue is, what your condition is, but whatever it is, do it. Do it. In verse 48, Jesus replied to the woman and said, woman, thy faith had made thee whole. Go in peace. There would have been no verse 48 if there hadn't been a verse 44. If she hadn't have shown up on the scene, there would have been no 48. Jesus could have healed the woman and kept on walking to his original destination. But then only the two of them would have ever known. No one else would have known what had happened. And he needed for everyone to know and to see what had happened. He needed them to know what a miracle looked like. Jairus needed to see that if he can do it with the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years, he could do it for his 12-year-old daughter. He needed the world to see that same wonder-working power can work in your lives. There's a purpose in your process, and he will use it so others can see his power in your life. He'll use it to see his power. The young adult generation of today and the generations of those to come need to see God's signs and wonders. Signs and wonders, so that we will know that God is still God. God is still God. He's still high and he's still on the throne. Jesus could have told her that she was healed or cured, but he said, you are whole. And on today, as we prepare to close, we want you to know today that as God heals you, that you are whole. He could have said you're healed, but the translation says you are whole. Whole. Whole meaning that there is nothing faulty. There's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing out of place. That you're perfect, that you're entire, that you're intact, that you are whole. And on today, we want you to know that you are whole. Whatever your issue is, like this woman, it's been draining you. I know, I got the t-shirt. It's been draining you. It's just been diminishing your dreams and weakening your sparkle and zapping your energy. But my brothers and sisters, you must seek him in these critical places, in these critical moments. You've got to seek him in these places and spaces in our lives, at the crossings of crisis and at the intersections of indecision and the drive-bys of delay. On your own road to your divine destiny, you've got to seek him. If you don't continue to reach for Jesus, you may never, ever reach your victory. As you finish watching this stream today, you go back to business as usual. You go back to living your life. Whatever you do, reach for Jesus. Reach for your dream. Reach for your goals. Reach for your destination. Reach for your destiny. Reach for your healing. Reach for your deliverance. Reach for God. Reach. Had this woman merely watched Jesus cross from the other side of the street, she would have remained afflicted forever. The Lord can provide your healing. He can provide what you need if you just have faith and you reach out and touch Him. Watch what you touch. Make sure you're reaching for the right stuff. Make sure you're reaching for the right things. Make sure you're reaching for Jesus, not other people, not your friends, not what you see on your phone and social media. Reach for Jesus. Reach for Jesus so that He can heal you, so He can make you whole, so He can deliver you forever. On this morning, reach.